Good morning and welcome to the MTK podcast, number 3. I'm your host, MTK. That's Madras Thiagarajan Karthik, for those of you who do not know. And this is number 3, the third podcast. 3. It's a magic number, all right? Yes, it is. Somewhere in that ancient mystic trinity, you get 3 as a magic number. The past, the present, and the future. That, of course, from 3 is the magic number by the seminal hip-hop act De La Soul. 3. Right, today's the 1st of November. In your calendar, I think it's 2023. Is that right? Somebody check that for me. Is it 2023 on their calendar? Yeah. Okay, thanks. And, of course, on our calendar, the Buddhist calendar, it's 2567. And for the Mexicans, today is Day of the Dead. A profoundly sort of interesting and fascinating manifestation of the USA calendar slowly changing, right, in the last few years. And again, we can't really... This has been a very strange period, and next year will be an election year. And for many, many years, I was an elections reporter in the United States. Of course, I covered the 2000 election, 2004 election in a very high-profile way. But other elections, reaching all the way back to the 1980s, when I was a political science student in school. Let me get a sip of coffee. How about that? Oh, that's nice. One of the nice things about audio, not putting myself in front of the camera anymore, is that this is a really comfortable space for me. I've recorded so much ambient sound over the years, all over the planet in my travels, and I worked on my voice so I could drop it in. And then recently, as the world has changed and everything's gotten louder and more noisy and more rat-a-tat, sales-oriented, corporate culture, capitalism again, everything's gotten noisier. The ads are more frequent, and they're coming from every quarter. Now, that reminds me of Ready Player One, doesn't it? There's that scene that Spielberg interprets as the guy saying, look, we could put all these ads up, filling all these screens, and they won't even notice, because they're gaming. When I talk about this being a simulation, that's actually my point, isn't it? Everybody's being entertained. You're gaming. Sure, you're more entertained than you've ever been, my fellow Americans. But unfortunately, you're also more hammered by noise and capitalist intervention and political manipulation through advertising. And it comes from highly detailed marketing techniques now, digital marketing techniques. So how does one, communicate through that? One way would be to set up a YouTube channel and refuse to monetize it, no matter how much people want you to monetize it. Just don't monetize it, right? Never make anything with the intention to earn money. And there you might be able to speak freely. At least that's how it was. And now, since Facebook and the corruption of that space, the interpreters have arrived. The editors and the news fixers have arrived at YouTube. But we should be able to get around them, shouldn't we? Yeah, sure. We're not talking about anything wrong. If I say here that I believe that Israel is an apartheid state, that should not get me in any way canceled. No, that's not the word. What do they do on YouTube or on Twitter? Blocked? No. What did they do to Trump when he lied about the election? I can't remember the term right now. That's the thing about waking up and doing this. I've had 2 sips of coffee and my fog brain doesn't remember terminology very well. Hang on. well, I can't remember that term, but let's get back to the point. I can say that I believe Israel is an apartheid state because I went there. That's where we start. Whenever someone wants to talk to me about Israel, Palestine, in fact, I think this is, universal nowadays. I saw it on, it was funny in that episode of Rick and Morty, which isn't a great episode, but it's the superheroes episode. And he tries to bury the Israel-Palestine conflict in the center of it, and then has Rick make the joke to the side. Wait, what do you mean? This even means that my statement was more factual than something, and even could be considered as pro-Israeli. There's a constant, even satirical dialogue about how irrational the media, the press, and really everywhere has become because of their fear of the Anti-Defamation League and the kind of being called an anti-Semite. I'm not an anti-Semite, obviously. This has nothing to do with anything. I'm cool with everybody. I'm neither Christian nor Muslim nor Jew. Neither Christian nor Muslim nor Jew. That's the MTK. As to whether I'm a Hindu or not, well, they say once you're born into Hinduism, you're going to stay one. So I guess I'm a Hindu. And then since I was about 14 or 15, I've been pretty clear that I've been studying Buddhism. But I'm neither a Christian, a Muslim, or a Jew. And I went to Palestine, and I took microphones and recording equipment and a laptop, and I was the news director of the largest independent signal in the United States of America. And I filed every single day from that nation, from that country, from that place in the world, Jericho, the oldest city in the world, as they say, from Nablus, from Ramallah, from Hebron. I traveled throughout. I saw things with my own eyes. I reported back to the United States. These things are available. You can look at them. There's a page on Revolution Records. I don't even want to get started about that. I'll put the link to the Audible Palestine. That's what I called it, Audible Palestine. You could hear the sounds of that place, and you could hear me talking about things that I was looking at with my own eyes. And what I saw was Bantustanization. And what it's become is apartheid. And that's real. This has been a slow encroachment that got speeded up because of the wars, the illegal wars, the Iraq War and the Afghanistan War, which here, when you're on MT Karthik's channel, who is a pacifist, remain illegal wars. The cover that gave for people to just do whatever they want to the Palestinians for the last 25 years has exacerbated what was already a problem. You have to comprehend that the Nakba was a horrifying experience, and it has never been dealt with properly. That land is not for just one religion. I'll repeat that. It was said to me by a refugee, an older, middle-aged man, maybe around my age, probably he was. We were having tea and coffee together. I had my mic in front of him. And when he said it the first time, I remember thinking, wow, that's the simplest way to put it, isn't it? This land is not just for one religion. And right now, one of those religions is being fascistly run by a extremist quarter. Their name is the Zionists. And you shouldn't be mad at Jews in general. That's a plastic, idiotic thing, racist and anti-Semitic. But that's not the point. It's not the Jews. Okay? That's what TV has done to you, and radio, and idiotic people in America. This is Zionism, which was born from a group of Jews who lived in England in the dawn of the 20th century, and they made a deal with the British, and they said, listen, we are chemists, we're scientists, we're really smart, we're tired of not having our own land, we want to have our own land. The Jews have been... We can all talk about the history of the Jews, which is horrifying and miserable. They have been summarily run out of places, run down, culminating in the actions of this moron in this terrifying, coked-up idiot in Germany. And the extermination fucking plan he came up with, right? So they wanted a place to go and be able to be. And to them, the place was, an Israel. And they were a lot of ways to go about this, I suppose. And they went to the British, who were a naval power, and a major power in the world. This is in the 1900s, early 1900s, right? The USA wasn't a major power in the world at that point. They had just come stumbling out of a civil war. Brother killed brother, and they were decimated. The British were the place they went. And they went to talk to them, and the British said, okay, well, look, here's what can you do for us? You got to do something for us. It's like me here in the United States, right? I've come to the point where I'm useless to everyone because I won't do something for the United States in their perception. Although I think what I'm doing is for the United States. So one of those Zionist chemists, a man named Chaim Weizmann, brilliant man apparently, he says, okay, we can do something and make bombs for you. How about we invent explosives, the most powerful explosives no one's ever seen. And as a chemist, he could claim that, he could do that. And Admiral Balfour, the Balfour Agreement, right? The British Navy Admiral Balfour said, okay, if you can do that, we'll talk about it. So the British made this deal with the Zionist chemist in 1900-something. They got bombs and used them in the World War. They thought it was going to be the only world war, right? The big war. And then it kind of wasn't. And then the Jews became central figures in the next big war, World War II. And 1948, that's the first crisis. Many countries were discussing the question of what to do, where to put them. There was a point at which they were talking about putting the Jews, the Israel that they wanted, in the United States. That would have made great sense, actually, in my opinion. They could have put Israel in the United States and let all the Jews have a place in the United States. They had already committed genocide on the people, or attempted to. See, they always get me doing that. It's an attempted genocide because natives still live. Natives, this is their land and they still live. But the attempted genocide had, made all this land that they could just seize and stick people wherever they wanted. They could have put them anywhere between here and Tierra del Fuego. I think there were some other places and so on. But the push to put them in Israel is a political push. It allows the West to have a position there in the center of all of the Muslim world. So instantly that's offensive to everybody and wars break out, right? And then 1967. I don't want to get into the details of all of this, but I'm trying to tell you I have been there. That's number one. And I am not a vested interest as neither Christian nor Muslim nor Jew. I have looked at it with my own eyes. I'm an American like you guys, and I'm trying to report back to you to tell you honestly that what I saw was Bantustanization, and what I see now is this is an apartheid state, and we should not be supporting it. Hamas is making noise through violence because nobody is listening. The 25 years I just described has suppressed them to the point of brutal conditions. And Zionism has succeeded in kind of hypnotizing the world. I'm not going to be one of these people who tells you that the Jews run all the media. So that's exactly where it goes stupid. You can't say, that's moronic. And Jews aren't the problem, you morons. That's not even the point here. The point is we need to unpack this. Just like we need to unpack reparations for Native peoples in the Americas. And we need to unpack our Constitution. We need to lay it all out and look at it all together and then decide with our new ideas about ourselves and the digital generation, as we have learned so much, we need to reconstitute ourselves into a safer, more peaceful, better nation, less driven by capitalism and violence, and more driven by love for one another.